You are live. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Monday Night Moshiach Matters. And let's hop right in. We are in Parshas Vayishlach. V'shalach. Close. And we have another action-packed, exciting sikha for this evening. So let's get jamming. Okay. Aleph. Lakviyo is the Esra B'Shvat, as it's connected to the 10th of Shvat. The Yom HaRavi'i B'Shavua, Kama Iminim, which was the fourth day of the week that year. Yud Shvat, which is the Shabbos, is the day the previous Rebbe was Histalik, and our Rebbe took over 75 years ago as Rebbe. And it's a very special day for Lubavitchers around the world. A lot of Farbrengens, a lot of celebrations. And it's also a special day for Judaism in general, because the Nasi is equal to the entire generation, Nasi Hakol. So let's get further into this. The Kol Harish, Ma'alasi Shal Yom Ravi'i B'Shavua, Shavon D'Chalas Hamoresh Shnei Hamoresh. So the Rebbe said that week, Yud Shvat fell on the fourth day of the week, which is Wednesday in the English vernacular. And there's an advantage to that day of the week, because that's the day that two great luminaries were created, the sun and the moon. V'od v'gam v'zeh ikra shnikra kami Shabbos kevan shebo metchila hakahana liyom haShabbat shla'achra kamadugash b'sirei shel yom hashisiyoyim v'chaisma l'chol mira hakatan tchilas the mizmor l'chol neron shemiras hashleimus hu v'kabal Shabbat. So just a general idea that Shabbat blesses the upcoming week, and it's known as far as energy is concerned that the day of Shabbat gives energy to the first, second, and third days of the week. And then starting from the fourth and fifth and sixth days of the week, those are the days that are prepared or preparing for Shabbat. Everything hovers around Shabbat. So this is also called Shabbat Shira, the song of the Shabbat of song, because this Shabbat we celebrate God splitting the sea and the song of joy that came along with it. Hein matchilas hamizmor hashiro shel yom haravi'i mehin. And we see furthermore that the song that we sing on the fourth day of the week, as it brings about a completion to the receiving of, Shabbos, as we just pointed out. Okay. I don't have a new camera for my new screen, so I'm kind of on my side screen here. Make a note to put a camera on that screen because it's a bit uncomfortable to keep spinning around. Okay, the Omtek Yoiser Al Pasek Hayudua Shir Shayach Michad the Yom Shabbat. Kiperu Shaman Moraga Mishnah Besmecha Shabbat, Masaka Shabbat. Call Baali Hashira Yitzya Besira Nishah Besira. Kaidan Mugash the Darga. He ayidei shir. L'chol gam ha'iluis ha'alemus b'yom ha'shabbat hu ayidei shir. The shir hayom, talking about the song and the singing, and it's connected to Shabbat. Every day we have what is called a shir hayom, the song of the day, which is connected to the special energy of that day. She'ikar hilui the yom ha'shabbat ayidei ha'shira hu v'shabbos shira. So we know that on Shabbat we have a special song. How much more so does that apply to the Shabbat of songs? Shabbat Shira. וממנו נמצא גם בשירי השבתות, ומזה מובן גם בנוגע לאלוהים, לאלוהיס ליום ההילולה, שיקרא השלימוס בשבת שירה. והנה נוסף בקביעות כזה, ששלימוס ליום ההילולה שנעשייס ביום השבת שלאחר, כללו גם השלימוס היסירה ליום הסטס. B'Shvat, Tu B'Shvat. That is the day that is coming up on next week, Tu B'Shvat, 15th of Shabbat. Shuhu Gimel Hayamim, שנחשבים למציאות אחד. So Tu B'Shvat is the day of the Rosh Hashanah of the trees. It's a special day. And at the same time, we see the connection that it falls out on the completion of the moon. As we speak a lot about in these classes, the 15th of the month is the day that the moon shines in its full capacity. Al biyadua sha'oindim sha'hakal hashana ma'odeh the Rabbanan bekulan yeshaychus la'oisa ha'perush parshish la'oisa behem yesh levarakash la'shaychus kanal the parshas shlach parshas shavua the yom haluda the yom shabbos la'achre parshas yisra parshas shavua the tes Tu B'Shvat. So the Rebbe is going to connect all these things. The fact that this is the Shabbat when the Rebbe gave the Sicha after Yud Shvat, that it's Shabbos Shira, the song, the Shabbat of the special song we sing, the Song of the Sea, and the fact that it's Parshas Bishlach. Base. The base of Perushes. Shlach Yisrael Hakanah the Mantel. So both of these parshas, Bishlach and Yisro, are connected to the giving of the Torah. We know that in Parshas Yisro we hear the Ten Commandments, the giving of the Torah. Parshas Bishlach, Shabo Mudga Mudu Baroides Shleimus Yotzir Mitzrayim. She Hakana the Man Torah. Kamosh Kasu Machotzesri as Ha'amni Mitzrayim Gavdun as Halukim Al Har Hazeh. And we know Parshas Bishlach, where we actually went out of Egypt. This is the week that we're going out of Egypt. Again, Egypt is not just a physical place. It is a place of where we are. I just lost my train of thought. 1 second. That we went out of Egypt. So going out of Egypt is not just a physical place. It means going out of our limitations or our boundaries. And we are in the process of going through that right now. It's a very important week to go through any type of limitations you may have. Parshas Yisro Shenoisef Hayois the Parshas Matan Torah Meduvar B'Tchilasoi Oidois Hoda'as Yisro. We know that Yisro acknowledged and recognized God. In fact, it says from our sages that if it had been from Yisro acknowledging and recognizing that God, the God of the Jewish people, is the real true God, we would not have been able to receive the Torah. So it's a powerful thing. And we see that Yisro basically said, now I know the greatness of this God. And this was the ultimate preparation for receiving the Torah. Yes, Lomar Shaprati Haninim Haparshiyash Beshlach Yisrael Derech Hakana the Matan Torah Naklalim Gam Hakana the Shlemus the Matan Torah Shitahir Dasi the Volk. So specifically, this matters of the Parshas of Beshlach Yisrael as their preparation for receiving the Torah. This includes the preparation of the completion of the Torah that will be in the future to come, not just the Torah that we received a few thousand years ago. Parshas Bishlach. Okay, Bishlach. Alf. B'shirim Hayom. Yamsuf. The song that we sing when God split the sea. Shisiyoyma b'choisma mikdash Adonai konu yadecha. Shtei yadayim. And it's referring to the two hands that the God will establish our hands, referring to the building of the base of Mikdash. V'miti yavana b'shtei yadayim kashat imloch le'olam ve'ed. And that with these two hands, it says that this is part of the foretaste of the world to come, how God will once again have full rulership over the world. Let's see, where the entire world will be under God's dominion. It's not that it is not now, but God has given the ability for alien, Sitra Achra, negative energy forces to so-called be in charge of certain aspects of this world. And that's all going to be coming to a screeching halt very soon. And God will, in a revealed way, be taking back ownership of the world. We also have at the end of Parshas Bishlach the commandment to remember Amalek and what Amalek did to you. Ki yad al case yodhe machama the Hashem Amalek v'dor v'dor, and it says God will war against Amalek. Against this is Amalek is the head Shaddai, the head demon, if you will, the head negative energy or force that rules over the rest of the negative energies in the world. And his hand will always be on the throne of God, trying to seize leadership of the world from God. And God will battle with Amalek in every generation. There's an Amalek. There's a force of evil kind of rousing together all the negative energies in this world to do evil. And it says that God's rulership and his name and his throne will not be complete until Amalek is destroyed. What's happening, Dov? It says, God's throne will not be complete until this occurrence that Amalek is wiped out. But Parshas Yisro, and we see in Parshas Yisro, Mabor Bidrushe Chasidus, as explained in Chasidut, Yisro Hashem Yater Parsha Achad B'Torah V'Atat Chazoy, talking about the fact that Yisro has a Torah portion named after him. And this is hinting on the future to come, when the new Torah that will come out from God, the Torah of Moshiach, will be a Torah that we will not be learning like we learn now with the books. It'll be a Torah that we will see with our physical eyes, the godly energy behind everything. But Parshas Yisro, I already said that. The having taken in Hashiris Hayam Milchama Amalek, and we could also understand what's going on according to the idea of the song we sing of the sea and against the war of Amalek. As well as the praise that Yisro gave to Hashem, and its connection that will be completed in the future to come with the new Torah, the Torah of Mashiach. יש להקדים לבואר מושקוס ובתחילת הפרשה. היא בשלח פרוי אס העם ולא ינחם אלוקים דרך ארץ פלישתים. כי קרוב הוא אשר הוא קרוב וטוב אנוכי מסיים בדרך ההוא. דרך ישר להיכנס בארץ כנען. יסר אלוקים אס העם דרך המדבר ים סוף. שלכן השם צריך לכבוש ים סוף. So it's known that God took us in a giant circle. When he took us out from Egypt, it says that God did not want to take us through the way of the Plishtim, which was close, and this was a very easy path to the land of Israel. Instead, he took us the long way home, and he went all the way around the Yam Suf, and basically went in a giant loop and came back where they started. And we will see a connection between the fact that God took us the long way home, that we could have had a much shorter path. Instead, we spent 40 years wandering in the desert when we could have been in Israel in 11 days. Seems bizarre that God would do such a thing. And also the connection to the war against Amalek, and also the fact that Yisro praised Hashem, and how that was a precursor to receiving the Torah, and the Torah that we will receive in the future to come, the Torah of Mashiach. And we're going to tie these themes together. Gimel. Al Patzak V'lo Yenechet Isa B'Midrash B'Mitzrayim Eretz Yisrael Yod Arav Mesaot. 11 days, 11 journeys we could have got to Israel from Egypt. Instead, God took us to the desert for 40 years. Think about that. 11 days we could have been to Israel, and instead God took us the long way. That's not exactly like your long way home that takes an extra 10 minutes. That was an extra 40 years. That's quite a difference. The Perush, Echad Eser Yom Mechorav, the 11 days and journeys that we could have made from Chorav. Isa b'midrash, Shekai Al Miuchad Sheba Esra, Shehu Echad Shehu Roish L'Kol Hadavar Adibris, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. And the number 11, according to a midrash, is showing that the number 10, of course, is unique. It's a perfection, if you will, in the divine energy, the 10 sfirot. But 11 is referring to a level of God above. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. I am Hashem your God. Hainu Echad Eser Yom Mechorav Mora Al Bechinas Echad Shlemayla Mechorav Bechinas Anthu Chal V'Lo B'Chushpan Musa Atzmusa Yishperch Lemal Esra Sfiros. The general concept of these 10 sfirot, the communication channels that God brings us His energy through, the 3 in our intellectual capacity and the 7 in our emotional and behavioral capacity. Those equal 10, which is the normal completion of the number. But the 11 is indicative of the very essence of God, which is one above from how He communicates to us. In other words, it's a level of godly energy, as we like to say, above the nature, that is not connected to the normal type of way God conducts the world. And therefore, these 11 days were connected to a level of godness, which is a very high, lofty level of God, which kind of begs the question of, so why didn't He take us that way? שלמעלה מ10 ספירות ו10 הדיברות, תמשך מסגלות פנים יסרי הליכה ודרך במשך 40 שנה. So this is a very interesting concept that the Rebbe is now bringing up. That the level of godly energy in these 11 journeys was such a high level of energy, such a deep change and shift in consciousness and awareness, that the Jewish people were not able to receive it in an inward way. When we talk about this concept of panemius, it's a very deep idea of Chassidut, of Kabbalah, to Kabbalah panemius, to receive the energy in the innermost way. What does it mean? Something becomes panemi. It enters into what is known as dat, or knowledge. It's now part of you. When something is chitzoni, it can very easily be unwound. An example that is given is ink and paper versus engravement. Ink on paper is something chitzoni. You have the paper, you have the ink, or the pencil, whatever it is. The pencil or the pen, whatever it is, can be removed or lifted off that ink with the proper tools, eraser, whatever you have. But when something is engraved, it's etched inside. It cannot be separated. The idea is that we want to take this godly energy, this level of consciousness, this level of awareness, and we want to make it part of us. So it's no longer, oh yeah, that's God, and this is an idea, and it's very interesting, and this is me. But that it all transcends and becomes one. And this high level of godly energy was so concentrated, was so deep, was so above what the Jewish people were capable of receiving, that God said, I need to take you the long way around. 40 years. And it says Arba'im Labina. It takes 40 years to truly understand the teachings of your master, of your rabbi. 40 years to have Bina. Shebehein nitain Hashem lachem lev l'das. And it says 40 years for God to really give you this concept, this information, so that your heart knows, your eyes see, and your ears hear. And it says an immense that a person does not comprehend fully the teachings of his rabbi and his wisdom until after 40 years. So these 11 journeys, God wanted, in other words, it's a long journey, but it has to be done. in order for the information to come complete. In other words, someone could take $1 million and throw it at you like this. And if it all blows by you and you can't grasp any of it, only grasp a couple bucks, it's better to have a couple grand that are in your pocket that's permanent. But you say, oh, it's much more money, but it's not, it doesn't belong to you. I don't know how else to kind of explain it. But the idea is that this energy, if it's not entering inside of you, where God knew if we would have went the short journey out of Egypt, we would have not been able to comprehend this high level of godly energy. So in order to receive the Torah, we had to go through this journey, this 40 years. In our own individual lives, it means that often God takes us through a long process to get to a point of comprehension where it's like, Chassidus is a perfect example. I'm learning now with my wife, Imre Bina, which is from the Mittler Rebbe, which is very, very deep Chassidus. The Mittler Rebbe was known to have written 40, 50-page Maimarim. I mean, the Rebbe's Maimarim are 10 pages, 12 pages. The Alter Rebbe is much shorter. I mean, massive in scope. And at the end, he brings you to a point where, why can't you just read the last few lines and say, oh, I understand what he's trying to say. Because it's the learning, it's digging, it's breaking your head, it's going into it. And that's what's taking that concept and making it part of you. In other words, it's very nice that people, I ask people, do you learn? Oh, I listen to Shurim online. It's not the same thing. It's very nice. It's not the same thing of sitting down with a book and going inside and breaking your head and learning and grasping concepts. It's like eating the whipped cream off of a cake. You're not getting into the recta de gechta, they say in Yiddish, the thickness of the soup, the stuff that's at the bottom. So God had to take us on this long journey in order for us to be properly prepared to receive this lofty level of energy that he wanted to give us. Sometimes the short way is not the most effective way. Paro sent out the Jewish people. All Paro the Kedusha. This is talking about the holy aspect of Paro, which we spoke about. We didn't have a share last week. I wasn't here, but from last week's parshas of Bo, of this high energy of Paro that Moshe was afraid of, the Kedusha of Paro, the source of his soul, which is in the level of Chamishis Pharaoh. Excuse me. It says Pario, this Galin Mine Kol Nohorin, as the Zohar explains, that the source of the energy of Paro, who is the great crocodile, who may have manifested himself into this physical world in a physical body, but his source of the soul comes from a very high level, in this fifth level, the world of Tohu, the world of chaos, where there's uncontrollable and wild lights. And therefore, for that energy to descend into the world, that had to be enclosed in a very negative being that brought negative things into the world. But its source and holiness is very high. And this is the level of godly energy that is above the name of Havaya, which is the name connected to Tikkun, or the world of Tikkun, the word from Atzilus Bria Yitzir Nasiya. Whereas the source of Paro is from the world of Tov, which is a higher level of concentrated godliness. But it's a wild energy. It's a crazy energy that needs to be tapped into for good, or it can be used for the opposite. בעניין זה הוא הטעם להמשך וכסוף ולא ינחם אלוקים ייסע דרך המדבר במשך 40 שנה כדי שבכנס פרעית הקדושה תומשך. And that's what the Rebbe says now. To bring down this high level of godly energy, it says that Paro, who sent out the Jewish people, the inner dimension of that was not the wicked Paro, but it was the godly aspect of Paro, his inner core, his high level of energy. And in order for the Jewish people to take that energy that was being sent to them in what appeared to be characterized as a negative way, they had to go through this further 40 years of cleansing and preparation to receive it. Merumaz gam b'shiras hadibra shebapaf haftara b'faroa parot b'Yisrael v'shtekot ha'aretz 40 shana. And it was hard, these events that occurred to the Jewish people, and they had to spend the 40 years of quiet in the desert. Va'al Yadam Gam Haaretz Ba'efen Tershkot Ayde Havored B'Meshach Arbim Shana. So in order for it to be what we say is menucha or calmness, sometimes you got to go through a lot to reach a higher state of awareness or consciousness. You gotta grind it out sometimes, and that grinding is actually a perfecting or a refining of your soul. And so, what appears to us sometimes to be just unnecessary aggravation or labor, it's really God refining us. No, excuse me, in order to prepare us for a higher level of energy. Okay, Dalit. Prati Zayser Harza Kashorim Prati Haninim Hashem Parshas. Mehem Halichas Vanesra Bamidbar. Bakal Prati Membes Mem Beit Hamasuats Shahayu Bamevshak Arabim Shana. That is going out. That took 40 years. We had 42 journeys we had to go through. Ahal Mahasar also is Parshas Saint. Yisrael Masuchois V'Chanu Ba'atem Pikatsa Midbar V'Prat Achri Kir Yam Suf Yasam Yitzal Al Midbar Shor Yasam Yavom Al Midbar Sin. Talking about all the different journeys, step by step in the desert. Yidua Shatakti Sakamara Bahalicha Zvanayasam Midbar He Kedei the Bora Nitzatzais the Kedusha Shenifla B'Midbar Amim. So the Rebbe is saying now, the main idea of the Jewish people going through these 42 journeys or 40 years in the desert was they were lifting up sparks. They were finding and elevating sparks of holiness that fell into what is known as the Midbar Ha'amim, the desert of the nations, the holy, godly energy that was trapped in mundane reality that had to be elevated by the Jewish people through their journey. And that through this, the Jewish people refined these sparks of holiness and therefore returned them to their source and drew it down to even a higher level than it was before. That these same level of godly sparks that fell out into the desert of the nations come from the same place of peril, which is a high level of kedusha in the upper lofty worlds, above this normal reality of creation where we live in. And because it comes from such a high level, and before it gets refined, it's sucked from the energy of the 11 goat hairs, the 11 sources of crowns of Klipa. We're talking about the forces of evil. The 11 journeys are connected to the 11 impure crowns of negative energy. The and that's the idea, that we have to combat the 11 crowns of impurity of the nations of the world and transform it into positive energy. It's not a coincidence, again, that the Rebbe's number is 11. It took over as Rebbe in the 11th month of the 11th year of the 11th day. Was born on the 11th day. A lot of 11s, because we have to. That's the work of our generation, to refine that final level of negative energy of the forces of klipa, of impurity. And because that we know, again, the number 10 is connected to the completion in a normal, or what we call regular energy of godliness. But 11 is connected to a higher level, a miraculous energy level. And that's the idea. That's what we're fixing up for the final redemption. יש מסברה וחילוק שבין יראה ונשאות חליכה במדבר במשך 40 שנה שאלוהי השם היה הקדוש ברוך הוא מלוכים ויראה א' נשאות היה הבירור על ידי המשך הגילוי אור עליון. ולמעלה למטה, in order to draw down this high level of godly energy from above. The problem is if you draw down this high level of energy, if we would have just went from the 11 journeys and skipped out on the 40 years, we would have drawn down this high level of godly energy into the world because it was being drawn into the world. But it would have been only from what we call above to below. Would have been an overwhelming amount of energy that no one would have had the capacity to internalize. So what happened? And that's why God took us for 40 years. So in order that we can take that energy and process it and bring it into our beings and lift it back up to God, so that energy permeates through us. So it's no longer a fleeting type of energy where someone gets inspired and the inspiration goes away. It's an energy of a deep meaning, consciousness, and awareness of God that stays with you. In order to rectify the world in a complete way. יוד ערף מסעות נשאם הקודש ברוך דרך המדבר שנה שבירור בדרך מלמטה למעלה ודור נעשה בכוח הגילוי דבחינס אחד 10 מלמעלה למטה חיבור הבייס למעלה למטה למעלה גם יחד. And that's the idea, to not only take that high level of godly energy and bring it into the world, but to make it part of our lives and part of the world, so that we can elevate that energy back up to Hashem. And then we have what a state of what we call as oneness, where that is the ultimate goal and the ultimate perfection of what we're trying to achieve. And that's how we'll be when Moshiach comes. There will be no separation between God and us and the world. Everything will be a total state of oneness and flow. And to do that, we have to put forth the additional effort and work that is incumbent upon us. And we see also the connection to the war and the battle we had with Amalek at the end of the parsha. And the hand of Amalek will be on God's throne until the end of days. And God's name will not be complete until Amalek is destroyed. Until we remove the name of Amalek from the world. Amalek hu mizvira shal Esav, Seir. It's the seed from Esav, or Seir. The source of the 11 crowns of impurity, of Klippa. Amalek, and through the war against Amalek. The Jewish people are able to draw down this high level of godliness, which is the 11 crowns of holiness, to combat the 11 crowns of Klippa. That's why there was 11 goat hairs hanging in the base of Mikdash, representing the impure energy that is sent to the goats. It's not a coincidence that the head of Satanism, they worship what is called Belfat, which is the basically a goat head on a human body, and all of their energy from impurity comes from the goat that is tossed on Erev Yom Kippur, that contains all the sins of the Jewish people. Because through our sins, through the things we do bad, that's where they derive their energy. The more they can get Jewish people, chas v'shalom, to do negative things, the more energy or sustenance they get. It's not a coincidence that every single horrific dictator and every horrible so-called secretive organizations that are operating has a Jew in a integral part or role very close to the high heads up, because they need the energy. Without the energy of a Jew around them, they can't succeed in everything. And then, of course, they need a fall guy too. When things go wrong, they just point to the Jew. It's the Jew's fault, right? Easy scapegoat for a different class. Let's continue on. Okay. And so that's what we need to do. We need to destroy Amalek in order to draw down these 11 energies that have been sent to the opposite side and transform them for good. Where am I holding? Hold on, I lost my spot. Oh, Hashem Shalem. Lo rak yud hey elagam vav. The gematria yud aleph. Vav and hey together is also 11. Vav is the lower half of God's name. Vav and the hey, referring to Zah and Malchus. And that's the idea: is that the lower energy should become one with the upper energy. In a mention, a human being, we can relate to that of the idea of our conscious minds, which are kind of like the yud, the vav and the hey, need to be in flow with our unconscious minds, which is the yud and the hey, the concealed brain. And this is the ultimate goal, by the way, of almost every single self-help book, concept, seminar, The Secret. All these type of things are to establish a state of flow, so that your conscious and your unconscious are not in contradiction, and the energy that's coming through you is pure, from removing any type of barriers or obstacles through traumatic experiences, through negative energy, through strongholds of klipa inside of you, and to remove that, and so you have pure thoughts and pure actions, and that the way you live is in a total state of flow with the energy that God is sending you. Shrumaz all hamshachas v'gilui b'chinas echad eser b'kol prat ti'eni nehavore shematzad esera koiches v'nefesh sh'chalukim hanistarois v'hisgalos. And here we see that this is hinted on the drawing down and revealing the level of 11 and all the details of our service from all 10 of our powers that are divided through this concept of the hanistarois and hisgalos. The concealed, which is Yud Hey, and the revealed, which is Vav Hey. Again, concealed, kind of like your unconscious, and revealed, kind of like your conscious. Because ultimately, we're learning in our Wednesday night class, and I encourage you to join if you have not, on the Sefer Yetzirah about Kabbalah. We're learning about this idea of flow and how the ultimate goal is to reach a state of flow where the energy that God has earmarked for you is not being wasted, it's not being squandered, it's being used for what God intended it to be used for, and you are becoming a conduit, a vessel for that energy, so whatever comes in is pure, and whatever comes out is pure. That's connecting Yud Hey and Vav Hey on an individual level. But all the Yisro represents this idea of the sparks of holiness that fell below. Which sources from the 11 channels of holiness. Okay. Hey. All pizza yesh the borasha pratin in him haparshia is bishlach v'yisra. Hey nakanal hashlemus the mantra the sidavo. According there is to explain that the details in the matter of parshas v'yishlach and Yisra, they are a preparation for the completion of not only the Torah that was gotten then, but the Torah of the future to come, Torah of Mashiach. Yidua Shaman Torahu Indian Ad Had Pa'ami. It's known the giving of the Torah is a one-time event. Kivan Shabo no. גם ענייני התורה שנסגר לסידו בוי, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ואף על פי כן, אמר תורה חדש מציתצי. חידש ממש. So what does it mean that God is going to reveal a new Torah to us? A new Torah is going to come out from God. We just said that the Torah is a one-time event. How is there going to be a new Torah? And since that the giving of the Torah is a matter of the ultimate event that has ever taken place. So this idea of a new Torah is going to be something that we can't comprehend what it means. So let's explain. That the Matan Torah was given through the revealed of the 10 sayings that God gave. And the 10 sayings are connected to the 10 commandments and the 10 sfirot. Dargas alokis yesh lo erech v'shaychos de'olam. A level of godly energy that is compared and connected to the world, as we said, the number 10. And this level of godliness that it's not compared or relevant to the world because it's too high or that it's concealed, excuse me. And the future to come, this level of godly energy that's going to be infinitely higher than the energy now that's in the world. In other words, the energy that God puts in the world right now, it's concealed. If you learn Torah, if you do mitzvot, if you do what God is asking of you, then you get a glimpse behind the veil. You're capable of perceiving godliness. But in the future to come, the godly energy is going to be so open and aware that everyone is going to sense it. There'll be no sins because there'll be nowhere to hide from. Right now, people still think they're hiding. It's an amazing concept. All these klipot, the cabal, and all these secret societies, and the length they go to hide and do all their things in secret. And they want to monitor everything we're doing. They want to monitor our speech, what we say, what we think, how we act, and they think no one's watching them. That they're hiding, and they've got video cameras and all kinds of devices tracking everything we do. And they think somehow that they're in hiding and getting away with all these horrible things. You don't want to know some of the things these people do in private. And no one can see. They forgot that God creates them. As it says, he who gives eyes doesn't see. Who gives ears doesn't hear. Who gives a heart doesn't know. God knows everything. And it's all going to get flushed out. So a few things are going to start happening, which they already have started happening. One, the forces of Klipa will do tshuva, and they will kind of bend the knee to God and start fixing their ways. Two, they will stand strong against God, and they will start getting revealed for who they are. And God will start pulling back the screen, as you can see, which has already happened by several celebrities and politicians and news people who all of a sudden are being uncovered. All the stuff they thought was secret is not so secret. Oh, where did that video come from? All coming out. And eventually, after all that negative energy gets flushed out, they'll have nowhere else to go. It'll be gone. Removed from the world forever. Okay. And then the very essence and being of God will be removed and revealed in the world. And this is what it says: the new Torah will come out from me specifically. Because the whole world will know me. I don't mean me, Mathis. I mean God. The whole world will know God. There'll be no denying or hiding. And this is connected to the 11 days, the 11 journeys. The number of God that is above counting, the very essence of God that will be revealed in this world. It's taken from Mamish. That this is hinted also in the preparation for receiving of the Torah. The journeys in the desert. And the war against Amalek and the praise of Yisrael. And all of these events are connected because they're all about rectifying and refining this high level of godly energy, the number 11, which is a level of godly energy completely removed from this world. And it's the source of not only that very high level of godly energy, but of all the negative energy in this world that comes from that as well. As the Zohar HaKodesh says, I was just learning over Shabbat, deep, deep mysteries and secrets about those who are aware of how the source of godliness, of energy, of holiness gives life and gives light to Gehenna and all the negative forces in this world. And that's why it says Moshe was afraid of Paro, because he saw Paro's source above and saw how that the source of all this Kalipa was connected directly to God. How can it be that God's giving his benevolent energy to the worst forms of evil in this world? Hitler Yamach Shemam, Paro Yamach Shemam, Stalin Yamach Shemam. I could go on and on and on. That their energy comes directly from Kedusha, from holiness. This is a deep secret that's spoken about in the Zohar, about how and why God allows this to happen and how it functions. I'm not going to go into it now. It's crazy stuff, but yeah. So all of this energy that came to Yisro, they came to Pero, they came into the sparks that fell into the desert, they're all connected to a very high, lofty level of godliness. Yep. I lost my spots. Okay. Elisha as Hayisa Rak Techilas Hakana Heshlemus Laman Torah non see the vote. The Ikra Heshlemus who I did Messiah of the Senate calls man Hagots, as we said many times. That the main Mashiach that we're going to get is based on what we're doing now. The work now, our deeds and our service, calls them Moshiach Now throughout the time of the exile. Midbar Hamim, when we're in the desert amongst the nations of the world. Are we falling for their oasis of taivas of this world? Or do we see through the illusion and realize that these are just tests that we must continue on through to unlock the deeper levels of godliness and creation? The Vavar Halois Nitzasegadush, because we have to rectify and refine these sparks of holiness. The only reason that God sent us in the world amongst all the nations of the world is so that we can transform or rectify their energy. And that's referring to the rectification of the Tzot Kedush, of the holy sparks that fell into this world. As Ruach HaTumah Avir min ha'aretz, and God will remove the spirit of evil from the world. And Amalek will finally be erased or wiped out. And it's happening right before our very eyes. And then we will have the completion of the Torah when the new Torah of Mashiach comes out from God. And then we will have a complete entering to the land of Israel in a way of bound and abundant, and goodness, and the true and complete redemption. Eretz Asher Amot. Kevan shenoisef al Eretz Sheva Amot. Igam halikavod kegimel artzais kini kaniz v'kadmoni. That not only will we have the 7 lands of Israel as they are now, but we will have the 3 remaining lands, which are Kini, Kanizi, Kadmoni, which are Chok, Mabina, and Keter. And this will be the rectification of the world of Tohu. And then the land of Israel will spread out to the entire world. In other words, the holiness of Israel will spread to the whole world. You have a Eretz Israel, the whole world will be like Israel, and the whole world will be a dwelling for God. Dugma Hadira Shugom Nizgala Atzmus Shel Hador Hadira Gilu Atzmus Adhuchan. And just like when we are in our home, it says a man doesn't want any what does Fred Sanford say? A man's home is his castle, and I don't want no hassle in my castle. You want to feel comfortable in your home. The worst thing ever is to be able to not feel comfortable in your own home, right? You're fighting with your wife, or I don't know, whatever it is. You got termites. You come home and you want to be able to, okay, regardless of what your home, you don't have to have a mansion, but you got your chair, you got your place, you're comfortable. Okay, you got my space. This world is God's home, and God wants to be comfortable in this world. In order to do that, that's what we're doing in these final moments, preparing for Mashiach, is tidying up God's home so He can dwell in it in a comfortable way. Vav. ויש להוסיף שאוימו האומר לאל מודגש גם בהשם השבס קודש זה Shabbos Shira Hayam Shir Shabbos Shira. So Shabbos Shira Nakalim Konia Elation Asimai Shir called Baali Shir Nitsi Bashira Nimshacha Bashir. Everything's connected to song. But all Pia Yadova call Eliois Baklali Bashabas Bashem Membis Ant Bakoch. Excuse me, the Anabakach prayer, which is 42 letters. Other exact, the 42 name of God, which is what we call the Anabakach prayer, are connected to the 42 journeys in the desert that we had to go through. And what does it say about them? Aliyah Medrega Lemedrega. Membes Aliyah Sha'ayda Bora. These 42 journeys that we go through. The Sefer Yetzirah speaks about the 32 paths of wisdom. And those are, of course, connected to our own additional 10 sfirot. That's 32 is 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, the 10 energies that God gives us, and the 10 energies we refine. That's 42 journeys. Those 42 journeys, the Rebbe says a very nice point here. You got to go from level to level. Once in a while, God gives what is called a dilug, where He picks you up in the elevator and He zips you. But for the most part, you get in what you put out. You get out what you put in. You gotta put in your time. You gotta crank it away. You gotta put in the effort. You gotta break the rocks. You gotta be in there day in and day out, working for God. And then level by level, He'll take you higher and higher and higher and higher. People think that connecting to God is like a math equation. Like, I put on tefillin yesterday, I don't feel anything. Like, could you imagine? Like, someone goes to work and say, I worked yesterday, I'm not a billionaire. Yeah, nice. Shabbat Shira, and the song of the Shabbat of Song, the Kalali Elios Shinasimide Members Amasa Midbahami, and it's included the 42 journeys that we did amongst the nations in the desert. This includes all the deeds and the service that we've done throughout the time of the exile. The Achri Gamar Avodas Abirori Makol Prati Elias Ben Beis Masaot Shamidba Hamim Shanuchalim Bashabbos Shira. All this is connected to this week's Shabbos. Boim Shir Chadash Rasid the Vo. Because it says in the future to come you will sing a new song for me. Isa B'Mechilasai Asra Shiras Hein. Harishira Shivan Amran B'Mitzrayim Asheni Al Hayam Shenamar Az Yishir Moshe, talking about all the different songs. It says there will be 10 songs. We're waiting for the final song, Shir Chadash, the new song that we will sing. So he goes to Hasheshi Sha'amar the Devorah Barak Shenamar B'Tisha Devok Barak Ben Avinim Siras Lasi Devok Shenamar Shir LaHashem Shir Chadash, new song. Call Hashira is Kulan. That all these songs are connected to feminine energies. Kashem Shenekeva Yeledes Kach Hatshuas She'avru Haya Haram She'avod Avo Hatshuas She'asir Yon Ein Achri She'vor Lakach Kurat Belashon Zachar. So it says every one of the songs that we sang, that we've been singing throughout the exile, have a feminine attribute to them, because the idea of a feminine attribute is the womb that continues to give birth over and over again. But the future song, notice that we will be singing for God, is a masculine song, meaning there will be no further exiles that we have to go through. We have to keep singing. We'll be done with that energy, and we'll be living in a state of redemptive energy, geula energy. Shmechalukim shebnei shebeshira b'lashon nekib nigash v'ikra ha'elohim melamata l'mayla. And this idea, it says, and the difference between them is that the song that is from the feminine aspect emphasizes mainly the advantage from below to above, the energy from below, the feminine energy, lifting it up above to Hashem, from Makabo, which receives in and of itself, cake, which is desire is to take these levels and go higher and higher and higher. No one wants to stay in the same place. And this is not the case with the masculine song. This is emphasizing an energy of masculine energy coming down from above to below. כלומר, אם היש שיר שאינני עלייה מלמטה למעלה, אז זה באופן שניגש בו הדביקויס והכללוס בגילוי עליון. ועל זה יש בו בייס המדוס, מלמטה למטה, גם אחד. And that will emphasize that all this energy from going from below to above and above to below, in other words, the way that we bring the energy back up to God and the way that God channels the energy back to us, that all these will reach a state of oneness and completion. Again, there will be no more separation. It will be totally godly reality beyond anything we can comprehend. Yesh Lamar Shabbos Shira, and we see this on the Shabbat Shira. Yishna Hashlemet Akal Shira is Wayfit Shah Aliyah Melamata Lamayla, Noisat Lazan Geshes at the Vikois with Klaus. Mitzat Gedoish Lamayla Ma Eser, Mechinasachad Eser. And referring to this number 11 that is indicative of both of these energies. Godly energy that is completely above the nature, drawn down with the godly energy that's in the nature, elevated up. Yesh Lamar Shabbos Shira. Yisna Hashlemet Takal Shira Hoivin Shalim Alamana Lamaita. They already said that, I think. Listen to the Gasha, the Vikois for Klaus Matani Giduich Lamar Esther. It was Achad Esther. Antu Chavel already said that. Okay. The Shakash Zaim Ha'inyan the Shira Hashira. Short Shir Kodesh Kadesh. It's talking about how the Shir Hashirim. Shlomo HaMelech, the book of the Torah that he penned, which is known as the Holy of Holies. It's a love song between us and God. K'meforash Amar Shah She'eser Shiras Hayuba Oilam V'zeh L'mara Mizeh L'mara Mekula. That and it says Eser Shiras. There's 10 songs in the world, and this is above from all of them. Shir Hashirim, the book of Shir Hashirim. The Kivan Shekulam Kodesh. And then my Kodesh Kadosh, because every song is holy, and this is called the song that is above all of them, the Song of Songs, and therefore it's the Holy of Holies. Shira Hashirim, the Shira Esther Nasi Levo, and in many shuls, I used to daven in my wife's father's Zichron of the Bracha shul, the Yemenite shul on Friday night davening when I was in Israel when we would visit them. And I believe in Sephardi shuls as well that the community sings Shir Hashirim every Erev Shabbat as part of their entering into Shabbat. It's really cool if you've ever been to a Yemenite shul. Everyone, everything's sung together, so it's like in unison, and it's like perfection. It's like, and they have a very interesting vernacular, very, very interesting pronunciation. The Rebbe says it's the closest to authentic Hebrew. And when they sing it all together at the same time, it's quite beautiful. The Shir that is connected to the 10th song in the future to come, the Fishabah Nasir Hashlemat Takal Hashiram Shabbat. Rizmar Hazet, the Fishab Mishkashrim, Mischavrim, Im Shir Chadash, Lasidavo. I deserve boy in the Shir Chadash, Lashon Zachar Lasidavo, Atzma with a Mamma Ezra Shiros. Shir Shakal Yenehu, Madavikois, with his colors, Okay. Again, connected to this level of 11, the new song, and the Shir Hashirim Sefer is a foretaste, a glimpse into what that's going to be. That new song that we will be singing. Zayin. Al piham morale al yesh bevoragam hakasher rashaychus the parshas b'shlach Yisrael the techon mizman shabo korein parshas ela b'smechos le'eser b'shabbat. So we're now going to connect it to the Yud Shvat. Chodesh Shvat hu chodesh echad eser. The month of Shvat is the 11th month of the year. Counting from Pesach, we count the months from Pesach. The years we count from Tishrei. Eshte Eser Chodesh Hu Chodesh Shvat. Sheshayach Miyuchad Legula Mitzvah Shlema. Shaji Gilui V'chinas Echad Eser. And of course, this is connected, as we said earlier, to the number 11. And again, what's very interesting is that the Frierdiker Rebbe passed on the 10th of Shvat in 5710. And the Rebbe did not take over Nesias officially until the following year, 5711. And he didn't give the mimer until the 11th. So the Frierdiker Rebbe died in the 10th year, the 11th month, 10th year, the 10th day. And the Rebbe is emphasizing the 11th month. But the Rebbe took over officially in the 11th year, 11th day, and 11th month. All 11ths. Not a coincidence. And this is connected, of course, to the number 11 of Antchu V'lo V'chushpan. I'm one, but not in a numerical sense, referring to the essence of God above everything, the one above the 10. And we know after Shvat, we enter into the 12th month of the year, which is the month of Adar. And then we have, of course, the Gula of Purim. Gula b'mora mutzal anochi avdei achashverosh an. Smecha gula. Purim, Pesach, and then we go to the next month, which is Nisan. We call as a redemption to redemption. The redemption of Purim, the redemption of Pesach. B'chodesh Nisan, Shabo Galat Yisrael Mitzrayim B'ben Nasida Gilal. And Kimei says, "Come Eretz Mitzrayim reign when he placed." It says we were redeemed in Nisan, and we were once again redeemed in Nisan again. And it says, just like when I took you out of Egypt, I will again show you wonders. Which am I? B'chodesh Shvat, Atzmuz Boim B'yoyim B'esre, L'yom Echad Eser, Echad Eser B'Echad Eser, Yesh L'mo, Abiyur V'Iloi V'Choispan Echad Eser, Yoyim L'Gabi HaKlalus Echodesh Echad Eser, Echad. It's talking about again, now 11 in the month of Shvat. Shebechinas Echad Eser Hu B'Oifen Shel Yoyim, talking about the 11 days. Al Shemor B'Giloi, base Chiluk Sheben Chodesh Yom Hu Chodesh Kashra'im Mahalech Lebana Yom HaKashra'im HaChoylech Machama V'Zamuvan Shechodesh Echad Eser Mura Al B'Chinas Echad Eser K'fi Shenim Shak V'Zgala Al HaMakal V'Vana, talking about the moon. Yom Echad Eser Mura Al B'Chinas Echad Eser K'fi Shehu Echad HaMashpia, the sun. Echad Eser B'Teraser, combining the sun and the moon. Again, the negative or the receiving and the giving energy. Talking And then the 13th was Shabbat that year. He's connecting the number 13. From the middle of Boyim take off the Yom Rishon Shavuot, Yom Echad. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yechid Ba'olamot Moral Al Hagidui B'Chas An Chuchad B'Gam Ba'olam Yemei HaChodesh Yom Yud Dalet Menu Boim Teichaf L'Yom Tesvav. Talking to the after the 13th, the Rebbe likes to connect threes together. The groupings of threes have a holy connection to them. So now he's taking us through the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th of the month of Shvat, bringing us up to, of course, Tu B'Shvat. Mamala Yisrael Tu B'Shvat Hu Rosh Hashanah Lalin, which is the day of the Rosh Hashanah of the trees. The ending of Esher Be'eretz Yisrael, and we see this special connection to Israel. Menag Yosef Cholok that has about Peirut. It's known as in Israel, it's a common thing to plant trees on the 15th of Shvat. And there's a special little, it's very interesting. I did it one year. The Arizal has a, you find it online. The Arizal has a whole, like in Pesach, we have the Seder Pesach. We have a special order. You go through on Pesach evening. The Arizal has one for the Seder of Tu B'Shvat, with different sayings and according to Kabbalah and the different meanings of the fruit. It's quite fascinating. L'chol v'tu b'shvat pirus. Let me check. Shemist'avasa behem Eretz Yisrael. Eretz cheta she'ora gufan b'ta'ana v'mana Eretz zayit shemen v'devash, the land of milk and honey and olives, all the indigenous fruits to Israel. Shetachtis hashleim is what k'nes l'Eretz v'sidavo. And we will partake in these fruits in a complete way in the future to come when we enter into the land of Israel. Hein b'noga the perus pshutim, hein b'noga the toichen ha'inin ha'perus b'Torah. Not only the simple fruits, but the fruits of the Torah in a metaphorical way. Shemura'ah ta'anuig b'Torah, including the tainug, the pleasure, the inner dimensions of the Torah. Tami ha'Torah, but penimis ha'Torah, which is the innermost dimension of the Torah. The deeper you go, the more pleasurable of an experience it becomes. And mainly with the new Torah that will come out from Hashem in the future to come. Ches. And we see this emphasized even more on the Yom Esrei, Yom Echad Esrei, the 10th day of the month, and the 11th day of the month, and in the 11th month, and the 11th year, as it applies specifically in our generation. Yom Esrei b'chodesh Echad Eser b'derenu zeh hu Yom Hailula shel Kavod Kadosh Ma'arei Ad Matzin De'Rein. That's the day the Frierdiker Rebbe was historic. Shabo Naseh Eloi the Kol Masina v'Ratzor V'Ratzor Yashar Aved Kol Mechayev, and all the Torah and all the mitzvahs you can imagine from the Frierdiker Rebbe get revealed on that day. The Dargas Halis Yosef, even a higher way. The Eloi Shemein Orech, to an elevation beyond what was even before. How much we see this connected to the leader of the generation. That the elevation is not just for him, but the entire generation gets elevated. The two great lights. Murumaz Toikan Eloi Shanaase La Acher Histachus B'Yoim Yud Araf the Chodesh He Shenoisef Al Hashlemus the Yud Araf Mitzad HaChodesh Naseh Gam Hashlemus the Yud Araf Mitzad HaYoim Echad Eser B'Tarase. Okay, B'Shlemus the Ikar V'Zeh Naasiyas B'Eser Echad Eser B'Chodesh Echad Eser B'Shana Zu Shana Arba'im V'Shtayim. That this year it's 42 years. The Rebbe says, since the Histachos of the Frierdiker Rebbe, when the Rebbe gave this mind, the Sicha. Referring to the 42 journeys of the desert. And this brings about a completion of since his passing. Just like we took us 42 journeys to complete, the Rebbe said it's now been 42 years since the Frierdiker Rebbe is passing, and therefore we have a completion of his energy. And as we spoke about, and we should enter the land of Israel in a good way, in a wide way, in the true and complete redemption. And then we will have the completion of this energy of 11. Okay, test. And wow, maybe done early tonight. It's a short sikha. And it comes to the action, which is the deed, is the most important. The Yom Hailula, the Yom HaTorah. And we have to add on good resolutions connected to the Baal Hailula, the Frierdiker Rebbe. We have to increase in learning his Torah. Halicha b'darchav and spreading out the well springs of his Torah. Many farigans on the day of his passing, including a lot of joy and singing. And again, connected to the Shabbos of singing. שנוסיף השירה הקשורה עם האלוהי למעלה למטה. צריך להכניס עכשיו. השיר שמרצה דביקוס וקלוס האלוהי. We're going to turn to the Shir Chadash, the Seed of One. This will all be a preparation for the new song we will sing in the future to come. As is connected, of course, to all our prayers should be directed for the true and complete redemption. In addition to the burning want and desire and thirst that we already have for the redemption. It's necessary now. We should have tremendous joy of entering into the redemption right now. Yud. We should have many farigans, especially on the day of the Hilula of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and also on the 15th of Shvat, Tu B'Shvat, which is the Rosh Hashanah of the trees. And a person is a mensch is like a tree. Eitz hasadeh, like a tree of the field. Israel, and specifically as the trees that are connected to the land of Israel. It's a land of desire. And this applies to every single one of the Jewish people. The call Prati and named Eretz Chayta Ishira Bo'ifan Ramon Eretz Ayat Shaman of Davash, the land of pomegranates and milk and honey and all the wonderful delicacies in Israel. Mavor Bakama Makmot Prati and named Rosh Hashanah Ilon. Chiddush Masaba Koinina Habore the Hanal Etzel Kol Echad Echad Israel. Echad Echad Vun Ishira the Ilah. Uvadai Nitzaloi Vitvad, the Rosh Hashanah Ilan. And for sure we will increase our forbearance on the Rosh Hashanah of the trees. Today the Varba Idorera al Derek Hispa Chidish Beine Habada Hana. Klam Yachat, Rare, Shuka, Im, Ad, the Reger, Hasimcha, Bakar, Yadia. Should take off Miad, Nasim, the Eretz Israel. We should immediately travel to the land of Israel. The Chol, the Priya, the Shva, eat of its fruits and goodness and joy and simcha. The kindness and mitzvahs at Tiluim Barba Taktish Levaska mitzvahs Ratzonech, and we will be able to complete all the mitzvahs as they're meant to be complete. Yesh Lamar, and there is to say, Mehi Ratzon be God's will. Even before we get to the Tu B'Shvat. Gam Hashlemas Hatzmicha V'ish Tzamech Shemo. Adoy Na'amar V'kam Shvat Yisrael Yetza Chotar Gazah Yesh Nitzar Yisharshad Yifru Yamod Melech Beis David. And we should already be having the fruits of redemption. And it says, and a king will arise from the house of David, a Melech. Yetza Chotar Gazah Yesh Nitzar Yisharshad Yifru Yamod Melech. It said that Menachem Muhammad will fight the wars of Hashem. We want a Beis Hamikdash in its place, and we'll build the Beis Hamikdash in its place. But Pashtus should take off Me'ad Mamish, and most importantly, this should all happen immediately. So we should all travel together from the desert of the nations within the Eretz Kedusha to our holy land, to Yerushalayim, our holy city, to the Beis Hamikdash Shlishi. Tvan Yosef Adonai Kanai Ayidai God, Yosef Yidchad Yisrael. And then we will sing the new song to Hashem. And our mouths will be filled with laughter. Including amongst us the leader of generation, Moshiach of the generation. Like was written in the Song of the Sea. God will take us and bring us to establish us in His holy place, and you will establish the work of our hands forever. In continuation, it says, Parshas Matan Torah, God spoke these words, Hashlemus the Matan Torah, and the completion of the Matan Torah that will take place with the new Torah that will come out from Hashem, taken from Yad Mamash. Hashem will bless us that we should have the true and complete redemption and be celebrating long before, even when we get to Tu B'Shvat, with Melech HaMashiach and the Beis HaMikdash. God bless you. Have a wonderful week. Moshiach now.